The torrential downpour outside did little to dampen the spirits within the secret garden bar. The raindrops created an orchestral symphony against the glass, adding a hauntingly beautiful melody to the jazz tunes that filled the air. The neon sign outside flickered inconsistently, casting a kaleidoscope of colors onto the rain-soaked streets. Inside, the scent of expensive perfume and bourbon intermingled with the faint aroma of cigars, creating a heady mix that was intoxicating. Seated at a corner table, partially hidden by the long velvet curtains, Aria watched the world through the rain-streaked windows. Her heart pounded like a drum within her chest, matching the rhythm of the rain. Her slender fingers danced nervously on the pearl necklace adorning her neck, an heirloom from her grandmother. She was dressed in an emerald green gown that clung to her figure, accentuating her curves. The gown shimmered under the chandelier's low light, and she hoped it would attract him, the man who wasn't meant to be hers. Aria's mind was a whirlpool of emotions. She knew the path she was on was dangerous, yet the thrill of the forbidden drew her in like a moth to a flame. She cast a nervous glance at the entrance, her heart fluttering like a caged bird at the sight of it. The entrance door creaked open, announcing the arrival of Sebastian. His hair was drenched from the rain, the locks sticking to his forehead. His eyes, those deep pools of chocolate, scanned the room, finally resting on Aria. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the world around them ceased to exist. He navigated through the tables, his gaze never leaving hers. His rain-soaked form was a stark contrast to the warm, inviting interior of the bar. As he approached her, Aria could smell the crisp scent of rain on him, mingled with his familiar cologne. "You came," he whispered, his voice barely audible over the sound of the rain. His words held a note of surprise, a dash of relief, and a hint of something else. Something dangerous, something forbidden. Aria looked up at him, her emerald eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I had to," she replied, her voice a mere whisper. Their words hung in the air like a tangible thing, creating an atmosphere charged with anticipation. The space between them was a chasm of unspoken words and hidden desires. Each stolen glance, each subtle touch was a secret shared between them, a secret that was theirs alone. Their intimate moment was shattered by the loud laughter that echoed around the bar. Natalie had arrived. Her laughter was like crystal, clear and brittle. She was oblivious to the storm brewing within the bar, oblivious to the tension that hung in the air like a heavy perfume. Aria's heart contracted as she watched the woman who held what she desired. Natalie's diamond ring caught the light, casting brilliant prisms around the room. It was a stark reminder of the vows that had been promised, vows that kept Sebastian from her. As Natalie approached them, her arm snaking around Sebastian's waist, Aria felt a pang of jealousy. The three of them stood in a triangle of unspoken truths, the air thick with lies and secrets. Sebastian's hand brushed against Aria's under the table, a secret touch that sent shivers down her spine. The unspoken tension between them was a palpable entity, a flame that threatened to consume them. Scene for the secret garden bar was a world unto itself. The walls were adorned with vintage photos and obscure artwork. A soft, classical melody seeped from the vintage record player in the corner, swirling amidst the low hum of conversation and clinking glasses. The bar was alive, yet Aria and Sebastian were trapped in their own bubble of longing and desire, oblivious to the world around them. The flickering candlelight danced on Sebastian's face, casting shadows that highlighted his strong jawline and the deep set of his dark eyes. His gaze remained fixed on Aria, each look sending an electrifying jolt through her. The room seemed to shrink, narrowing down to the two of them. Their hearts pounded audibly, throbbing in harmony with each tick of the clock on the weathered wall. Aria took a sip from her glass, her eyes never leaving Sebastian's. The whiskey was strong, its fiery trail down her throat distracting her momentarily from the burning intensity of his stare. It wasn't long before silence fell over them, a deafening stillness broken only by the sound of rain against the window, a rhythmic requiem to their forbidden passion. Scene 5. The door to the bar creaked open, momentarily shattering their world. In walked a group of boisterous patrons, their laughter echoing around the bar. Aria and Sebastian broke their gaze, the real world seeping back into their bubble. The flame of their attraction still burned, but it was now a smoldering ember, hidden beneath layers of social propriety. Sebastian shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his hand retracting from the secret touch it had maintained with Aria's. They both knew the lines they were crossing, the dangerous dance they were engaged in.
Aria was a married woman, and not just to any man. She was the wife of Alberto, one of the most influential businessmen in the city.
Sebastian was a mere bartender at the Secret Garden, a man of humble beginnings with dreams bigger than his pockets. Yet, there was a magnetic attraction between them, a pull stronger than the societal norms that bound them.
Sebastian cleared his throat, dragging Aria out of her thoughts.
"Would you like another drink?" he asked, his voice barely audible over the cacophony of the bar, his eyes averted, unable to hold her gaze. Scene 6. Despite the noise, Aria heard him clearly.
She looked at her almost empty glass, then back at Sebastian.
"Sure, why not?" she replied, trying to keep her voice steady and her emotions concealed. She could feel her heart pounding, her palms sweating.
Sebastian nodded and disappeared behind the bar.
Aria watched him, a sense of longing washing over her. She remembered how they had met, the instant connection they had felt, the yearning that had grown with each passing day. It was a love that could never be, a passion that was forbidden, yet it consumed her. It was a fire that couldn't be extinguished, a tide that couldn't be stemmed.
As she watched Sebastian pour her drink, Aria was painfully aware of the ring on her finger.
It felt heavy, a constant reminder of her commitment, of the life she had chosen. She looked around the bar, at the laughing patrons, the rain-soaked window, the flickering neon sign. She was a part of this world, yet she felt so distant, so removed. Lost in her thoughts, she didn't notice Sebastian returning until he placed the glass in front of her, his fingers lingering for a moment longer than necessary. Their eyes met, an unspoken promise passing between them. Tonight, they were just Aria and Sebastian, their forbidden passion burning brighter than the neon lights outside. Scene 7. The bar had thinned out, the clock on the wall marking the late hour. Aria watched as Sebastian wiped down the counter meticulously, his movements fluid and rhythmic. The soft hum of a forgotten tune on his lips echoed in the near-empty room. It was a side of him she rarely saw, one that she couldn't help but find endearing. "Would you like another drink, Aria?" he asked, his voice low and smooth, cutting through the silence like a warm knife through butter. His eyes never left hers, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. Aria's heart fluttered at the sound of her name from his lips. She shook her head, her gaze remaining locked onto his.
"I think I've had enough." "Then perhaps a dance?"
he offered, his hand extended towards her. Aria looked at his outstretched hand, then back at his hopeful gaze. Her heart pounded in her chest as she stretched her hand towards his. He took it with a firm yet gentle grip, leading her towards the small dance floor. The low hum of an old jazz tune filled the room, the rhythm slow and soothing. As they began to move, she placed her hand on his shoulder, her body instinctively moving closer to his. Scene 8. As they moved to the rhythm of the music, the world outside the bar ceased to exist. The rain on the windows, the flickering neon lights, the distant laughter, all faded away until all that was left was the man in her arms. His scent filled her senses, a mix of liquor and a hint of something warm and familiar. It was intoxicating, making her head spin. Sebastian held her close, his hand firm on her lower back, the other gently gripping her hand. He led their dance with a casual ease, his body swaying rhythmically with hers. His gaze bore into hers, a silent conversation taking place between them. There was a vulnerability in his eyes that stirred something deep within her. She could see the longing in his gaze, matching the feeling that was growing in her own heart. He gently turned her, pulling her even closer, their bodies almost touching. As the final notes of the song played, he lowered his head, his breath hot against her ear. "Aria," he whispered, his voice hoarse with emotion. His grip on her tightened, his heart pounding against his chest. Aria closed her eyes, her own heart echoing his rhythm. As the song ended, their bodies remained close, the silence enveloping them like a comforting blanket. She could feel the heat radiating off him, warming her from the inside out. Scene 9. As they stood in the silence, Aria opened her eyes, meeting Sebastian's gaze. His eyes were dark with emotion, his breath ragged. She could see the battle raging within him, the struggle between desire and duty. She felt the same conflict within herself, her heart aching with the intensity of their unspoken feelings. "Sebastian," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "We shouldn't." He silenced her with a finger against her lips, his gaze never leaving hers.
I know, Aria. But just for tonight, just for this moment, can't we forget the world outside?
With those words, all resistance shattered. She nodded, her gaze dropping to his lips. Slowly, he leaned in, his lips capturing hers in a kiss that was as soundless as the night outside. It was a kiss full of longing and passion, a kiss that spoke volumes of their unspoken feelings. As their lips parted, they remained close, their breaths mingling in the cool air. His hand cupped her face, his thumb gently tracing her lower lip. The world outside faded away once more, leaving only the two of them and the echoing silence of their unspoken promises. Scene 10, Aria sat in the backseat of the taxi, her body trembling from the intensity of the encounter. The glow of the city lights passed by in a blur, reflecting on the rain-soaked windows. She felt like she was enveloped in a dream, one that was too beautiful to wake up from, yet too poignant to fully embrace. She felt her lips, still warm from his touch, tingling with an almost unbearable awareness. She could still feel the intensity of his gaze, the depth of yearning that mirrored her own. It was an intimate connection, a forbidden passion that threatened to consume them. But beneath that passion, there was a profound loneliness, a longing for something that was always just out of reach. Aria's heart ached for Adrian, but with that ache came an unmistakable fear. She knew Adrian was fighting his own battle, a battle he was determined to fight alone. The memory of his pain-stricken face was etched in her mind, as vivid as a fresh wound. She desperately wanted to ease his suffering, but she was unsure how to reach him. Scene 11, as she stepped out of the taxi, the city seemed to hold its breath. The air was heavy with anticipation, a palpable sense of tension that seeped into the concrete sidewalk and the walls of the apartment building that loomed large before her. The city was alive, humming with a million stories, but at that moment, all she could think about was Adrian. Inside her apartment, Aria undid her coat, letting it fall to the floor. The silence was deafening, a stark contrast to the vibrancy of the secret garden bar. She moved to the window, trailing her fingers over the cool glass. The cityscape stretched out before her, the city lights sparkling in the distance. It was beautiful, but the beauty felt hollow. Slipping off her heels, she walked barefoot on the cold wooden floor, lost in her thoughts. She replayed the evening in her mind, every word, every glance. Adrian's confession, his plea for understanding, sent a fresh wave of emotion washing over her, pulling her under. She was drowning in her feelings for him, and she didn't know whether to fight or surrender. Scene 12, Aria found herself in front of the mirror, her reflection staring back at her. The woman in the mirror looked different, her eyes holding a raw intensity that wasn't there before. She searched herself for answers, for some kind of sign that she was making the right choices. But all she found was a deep well of uncertainty, a labyrinth of emotions that refused to untangle themselves. She thought of her life before Adrian, the endless string of empty conversations and shallow relationships. It was a life that she had grown accustomed to, a life that was comfortable in its predictability. But Adrian had stirred something within her, a flame that threatened to ignite her entire world. She knew that she couldn't go back to her old life, but the path forward was shrouded in darkness. As the tears welled up in her eyes, she wiped them away fiercely. She refused to let fear guide her, to let uncertainty hold her back. She knew she had to fight, for herself and for Adrian. The truth of their connection was undeniable, a force that demanded to be acknowledged. Steeling herself, she vowed to confront whatever lay ahead. There was no turning back now. She was on the precipice, ready to leap into the unknown. Scene 13, in the hushed, dimly lit atmosphere of the secret garden bar, Aria sat alone, her fingers nervously playing with the rim of her untouched cocktail. Her emerald eyes flickered to the entrance every few seconds, a blend of anticipation and dread reflecting in them. Her heart pounded in her chest with each passing minute, the incessant ticking of the clock echoing her own ticking time bomb of emotions. A figure emerged from the relentless downpour outside, shaking off the rain and stepping into the sultry warmth of the bar. Aria's breath hitched as she recognized the man sauntering towards her. It was Ethan, his usually carefree smile replaced with a grim line of uncertainty. He was drenched, his shirt clinging to his muscular torso, outlining his sculpted physique. His hair lay flat against his forehead, sleek from the rain, and his eyes, usually bright with mischief, were dark, storm clouds mirroring the tempest outside.
Ethan took a seat across from Aria, their silence punctuated by the distant laughter of other patrons. An inexplicable tension had sprung between them, a static charge that seemed to be leading up to something monumental. Neither was brave enough to break the silence until Ethan finally gathered his courage. "Aria," he began, his voice barely above a whisper, "I need to tell you something." Scene 14, the rain continued its melancholic symphony against the windows, setting the tone for Ethan's confession. His fingers traced the condensation on his glass, his gaze fixed on the woman who had become his obsession. "Aria," he started again, his voice thick with emotion, "I've lied to you." Aria's heart dropped, her worst fears coming to the forefront of her mind. She steeled herself and met his gaze, her voice barely a whisper, "Tell me." "I'm not who you think I am," he confessed, his eyes never leaving hers. "I'm married, Aria." The words hung heavily between them, the air suddenly too thick to breathe. Aria's mind raced, trying to make sense of the revelation. She felt a pang of betrayal, a sharp stab of loss. Aria felt as if she was free falling, her heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. The man she'd dared to fall for was not hers to have. She had to withdraw, to save whatever little dignity she had left. Scene 15, in the wake of Ethan's confession, Aria found the strength to stand up, her face a stoic mask hiding the turmoil within. She looked at Ethan, her emerald eyes now a cold green, devoid of the love she had once felt for him. "I wish you well, Ethan," she said, her voice steady and strong. Without another word, Aria turned and walked away, her heart heavy but her resolve unbroken. She brushed past the patrons, leaving the bar and stepping out into the rain, allowing it to wash over her, as if to cleanse her of the hurt and betrayal. In the silence that followed, Ethan could only watch as the woman he loved walked away from him, his confession leaving him with a bitter taste of regret. He had lost her, his one shot at true love, all because of his deceit. The rain continued to pour outside the secret garden bar, a fitting end to a night of revelations and heartbreak. But even in the midst of heartache, there was a sense of closure, of a chapter ending and a new one beginning. As Aria disappeared into the rainy night, she felt a sense of relief mingled with her sorrow. She had loved and lost, but she hadn't lost herself. She was still Aria, strong, resilient, and capable of moving on. She had weathered the storm and emerged stronger, ready to face whatever life had in store for her. The story might have ended on a melancholic note, but it was an ending that promised a new beginning, a sense of hope amidst the sea of despair. It was a testament to the resilience of the human heart, the ability to love, lose, and still find the strength to carry on. It was a story of forbidden passion and intimate drama, but above all, it was a story about the power of self-love and self-respect.